quality control. Testing. Can everybody hear me? I had some folks tell me they couldn't hear me initially. Is that better? Everyone can hear me now? All right. Good? All right. Awesome. Okay. We all wrote it down, so if we start to lose it, we'll refer to our notes, so bear with us. First of all, like I said before, it is so wonderful to see all of you here today. You've all been such an important part of Dad's life, Mom's life, our life. We have oldest and dearest friends and family. We've got our Rhode Island contingent. We have our Massachusetts contingent. We have Indiana, and of course we have all our wonderful Satellite Beach crowd, and so many friends of all of ours too. And we're so excited to see everybody here today. This is what Dad would want, and this is kind of a core group of people that really cared about Dad and Mom and all of us, and vice versa. So, deep breath. Bear with me. You may have to jump quicker than you think. Okay. It is truly, truly difficult to sum up 45 years of amazing memories with Dad. Thanks to both Dad and Mom, I truly had a charmed childhood. Charmed, absolutely. We had such a happy home, and I'm so thankful for that. Dad is my mentor. He's always there to guide the way, support us, give us every opportunity, and I mean every opportunity, to allow us to make our own decisions, but yet still able to allow us to make our own decisions, to kind of find our own way. His way of giving advice was smart and subtle, which was very effective when you're dealing with teenagers and our 20-somethings where we know everything. But he was so subtle that he would use a lot of these little quotes or sayings, as we call them. And I know a lot of you have probably heard him say a few of these things, so we're going to share a few of those today. Honestly, it's just so effective that I can still hear his voice all these years later. I can hear him saying to me. Sometimes I had a tendency maybe to be too self-deprecating or too self-effacing, and he said to me one time, and I always remember this, he said, "Don't be so quick to point out your own faults. There's a lot of other people that'll be happy to do that for you." And I have actually used that, and I have told, especially when I was teaching pilot training, I've told a lot of my girl students, the boys didn't seem to have that problem, but the girls did, and I would use that. He was great with financial advice, and he kept it simple too. I mean, as simple as don't gamble with money you can't afford to lose. And there's a couple times I thought, oh, wait, I think that even meant in this case. I should have probably listened to that. And I'm not a gambler, so. In dealing with tough situations and people, he always said, and I know you've heard him say this, positive thoughts. Positive thoughts. And that pretty much sums up Dad. He was just, always positive, always trying to look at the bright side. He had great self-realization, and I always remember saying this quote too. This is my favorites too, and I can't do the Scottish brogue like Dad could, so I'm not even going to try and embarrass myself. But it's a Robbie Burns quote that he used to say, almost to ground us, because even sometimes we would get a little bit too full of ourselves, and he'd say, the greatest gift that God could give us is to see ourselves as others see us. And you think about that for a second, and it is great advice, again, from Dad. He gave us so many gifts. He showed us the world, and wow, we had fun. He'd spend months and months planning and researching, and he would take us to the coolest places. We went to the Glockenspiel in Munich. Remember? You guys were with us. The salt mines in Austria. Remember that? We went to glowworm caves and glaciers in New Zealand. We did tall ships in Dublin, rickshaw rides in Hong Kong. We did elephant rides in the floating market in Bangkok. Riding the Gond, the Australian outback, was one of his all-time favorites. And then we went, of course, to explore our beautiful Scottish Highlands, which, ironically, we've seen so much more of Scotland than our wonderful Scottish relatives. But that was his passion. He loved showing us the world, and I feel so fortunate. And I could go on and on. We saw a lot of great stuff. But I want to talk a little about one of the greatest things about Dad, is when even after all that preparation, things did not go as planned, he taught us to go with the flow. These moments wound up being some of our best memories, life lessons, and we look back on these times and we just think, that was great. And this is one example that is so odd, but I still remember it so clearly, even though I was Carrie's age. I was actually a little younger, I was 8. Dad taught me to ski, and at the time, right for the first time in skiing, I happened to live in Iran. And they don't get a lot of snow there. They do have the mountains around the Mile High City there of Tehran. But they don't get a lot of snow, so they don't have a lot of really great skiers that come out of Iran. But the snow was there, so he said, we're gonna go give this a shot. I'm gonna teach Kim how to ski, she's the oldest. Well, there's Dad and I on the side of the hill, and this completely out of control Iranian man, obviously very new to skiing as well, came flying, screaming, waving at us, like, where are we gonna go at this point? You know, he's this man and his kid. Dad tried to get in front of me, it wasn't gonna happen. The man hit both of us. All three of us went down the mountain, skis, poles, everything. Majorly traumatic event for an 8-year-old, you would think, right? So we laid there, and Dad picked me up. He's like, are you okay? He feels horrible because he feels so guilty that he's got plowed over. And then he started to laugh, as he knew I was okay. And he said, can you imagine how funny that must have looked? How ridiculous that looked? And we laughed. And so what could have been a very scary, traumatic event wound up being fun. And I love to ski. I still ski today. I'm not great at it, but I get out there. But again, and one last story about Dad, and I know a lot of you have heard the story, so we always give him a hard time about this, and this is something wonderful about Dad, is he could always kind of take a joke. He'd give a lot of jokes, but he'd take a good joke, too. Another story is we went to see those fairy penguins, and I know we've talked about this in Australia. But I don't know if everybody realizes how much Dad truly wanted to see this phenomenon. I guess every day these massive penguins are supposed to come out of the ocean on Phillips Island, Australia, and they're just like, come up on the beach. It's supposed to be this amazing thing you see. And Dad wanted to see it, he wanted us to see it. Well, unfortunately, the night we went, it was, I don't even know, like a hurricane, typhoon, I don't know what it was, but it was awful weather. We were out there in our blankets and our hats and watching and not one penguin came out of the sea. Not one penguin. But again, Dad being the one that is the last to give up hope on this dream of his, we all were running for shelter. We're like, Dad, we're sorry, we gotta go. So we all ran into the visitor center, and Dad stood out there, and he waited for his penguin, and the penguin never came. And he was so disappointed. But again, because it's Dad, he didn't let that get him down. We still had an amazing rest of our trip. And we joked about this for years and years and years. We still joked about that penguin that never came. And that's the bottom line of Dad. He enjoyed every moment of every new experience. Some were better than others, but at least he went for it. And that is something that I really hope that we've been able to do and teach our families as well. So I want to finish with what I think is my quintessential dad. What I see of Dad when I look back, and I hope I can do this, I try, is he always saw the best and made the most. And he always said, you need to see the best and make the most out of what you have. And he truly accomplished a life well lived. So, thank you.
So it's funny, we talk about quotes from my dad. He had a number of them. 2 quotes specifically that I remember most. The first was, don't complain, but don't explain. It was simple, right? It's so true. How often do you really want to hear someone complain? Right? It's a good learning. The second one, though, was you catch more flies with honey than you do with vinegar. So you wonder about this, and you'll all be shocked that I have very feisty Scottish blood running through my veins. Right? This is an important lesson for me. That's right, it's an important lesson for me to learn, right? So you'll always get better with kindness. So a couple memories I kind of talked through is, we were traveling, you heard from Kim, we're traveling through France, we're driving around in Normandy, we're completely lost, not one word of French between us, right? We have a map, it's in French. We stopped for directions 4 times, nothing. So we're driving in circles, and circles, and circles, right? We can get frustrated, get angry, get just bitter. No, it's a journey. We'll get there, he was right. Another one I kind of think of, something for all 3 of us, was curfew. Curfew is a really big deal. So before cell phones, right, you didn't know where everybody was, so you said 11 o'clock, you better be home at 11 o'clock. That was the only rule. You get away with anything else. You walk home at 11:02, you stand there looking over you all remember the hospital silence, looking over the railing at you. You know you're screwed at that point, right? You're alive. To this day, I'm never late. Ever. Another thing, actually, a memory from mine is, there's a lot of Northeasterners in the crowd here, right? It's something my dad gave to me. You can argue it's a little bit of emotional baggage here, but he gave me a love of Boston sports, right? A love of Boston sports. Maddest I ever saw my dad, 1986, 6th game of the World Series, Bill Buckner, Well, most of it was the ambulance, right? We all know the story, right? I've never seen him so angry and upset my entire life. I was a little young and kind of like, wow, okay, I kind of get it. So every year, the Sox just could not pull it off. It was driving us crazy. You know what? I give up. No, I can't give up, right? You're loyal. It's passion, it's bonding. 2004, guess what happens? The Sox win the World Series, right? First call, you know who it went to, right? So the last story is a sailboat.
I used to go with David because he's a way better storyteller than I am.
About the bus that went through his legs?
Yeah.
I want to pinch it just for a little bit because I'm not nearly as entertaining as David is. So, Kim and Dave, we both touched on it, and everybody in this room, you saw Dad. He was always fun. He was always fun. He would have loved this. This would have been right up his alley because that's what Dad was, and that's what you guys all saw him. But that's actually how he really was at home too. I mean, he was just always fun and always happy, and really truly saw the good in life and the fun and the positive side of things. I mean, honestly, growing up, and I think Kim and David, I don't know if I ever got yelled at. I think there was one time I got yelled at because I really didn't want to mow the lawn. It was making me mow the lawn. That yard is huge. And I was like, really? There's swales? So I think it might be the only time in my life I actually got yelled at, and I was like, ooh, I better mow the lawn. So I have to say, it was always like a look. Or definitely when we were pushing curfew, and Tish could probably attest to this a couple times, but we set our watches back maybe a couple times, like, oh no, our watch says 10:56. And so there was a time he's like, let's synchronize watches before you go out. So, but again, I'm kind of fixated on time, so I'm thinking this is where that came from. But you know what? My best memories, and I think we all say it, is our family trips. I mean, those trips that we took were amazing. And I don't think I truly appreciated them as much as when we were actually taking the trip as I do now, because of the experiences and the places that we got to go. I mean, I remember we were younger and we had probably seen our 6th cathedral of the day, and David and I literally laid down on the steps and we were like, we're done. But looking back at those trips, they truly are the best memories for us. And that's how, for me, I'm going to choose to remember Dad, because that was him at his happiest, traveling with his family. Those were his family and travel, and when you could do them together, that was the best of both worlds for Dad. The other thing, Dad was all about teaching. He loved education. He was, 2 master's degrees, pursuing his PhD. Life was a lot about education for Dad. And one of the lessons that he kind of taught us, not by telling us, but by showing us, was, to never give up and really, truly go after what you want in your life. I'm so grateful for that, because Dad really was taken too soon from us. He was diagnosed right around his 64th birthday, and he was taken too soon, but I can take some peace and comfort in knowing that while the time he did have, he loved it. And he enjoyed it, and he really, truly made the best of every day, and I'm so grateful for that he didn't wait. And there's never going to be enough money or enough time, or you're working so much, but he said, no, this is what I want to do, and he truly enjoyed his life, and that's what I'm so, so grateful for. Dad had a gift for finding the positive in even the absolute worst situations. He really did. And that is a gift, because it's really kind of easy to go down a sad road. Even when Dad was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, I was actually there with Mom and Dad. And, David might need to pinch it for me. But you know what? Dad, Mom and I, we were pissed. We were just, what? Dad never complained. He never, pitied himself. He never really said, why me? He did the only positive thing that he could. And him and my mom did a clinical trial. And I know some of you know about the clinical trial. It was tough on both of them. But they did it because that was Dad. And he wanted to say, okay, listen, if I'm going to get this, I'm going to do something positive with it. And maybe some of the research that I'm involved in and the medication that they're studying, maybe I can help. We can find a cure for this horrible disease. You know, even at the end, I don't know if a lot of you guys know this, but Dad, we worked with the brain bank, and we donated Dad's brain to Alzheimer's research. That was something Dad and I talked about right very soon after he was diagnosed. And so even in the very end, Dad's positive attitude and positive thoughts were still coming through as he so wants to find a cure for this horrible, horrible disease. I've asked myself so many times in the last month, what would Dad want me to learn from all of this? Because in our lives, in our homes, everything was a lesson. And I think, without a doubt, what he would want me to learn from all of this would be to love your life. If you're not happy with something, fix it, change it. You know, make your life the best that you can, because the reality is life is short, and I know that's cliche, but we don't know if we're gonna get tomorrow. So we got to make the most of today. So Dad, we love you, we miss you, and we're going to try and honor your memory every day by living our lives the best we can.
So I'll give you one last story. So I was 13. I knew everything already. Sean, Cole. I already knew it. I'm like, Dad, I'm on a sailboat. I can sail this. Jimbo, Adam, others, we can do this. Let me do it. It's okay. Here's the deal. I want to see you do the man overboard drill. You take the life preserver, toss it over the side. Go pick that up. I tell you, we lost a lot of good preservers that day. We're running over, we're restoring them, sinking through. It's a disaster, right? But you know what? He made us figure it out. It was us to do, just us. True to his word, he said, all right, here's the boat, you can take it. So a follow-up story. We're out there sailing one day, and, had a good day. Got home, and Dad's looking at the boat. And look at the front rim, just this large, pulpit, and it's bent like about a foot. I mean, it's 26-foot long sailboat. It's 3 tons. This is a monster ship. It's bent over. And he's looking at it, looks at me, and goes, "What happened?" I'm like, it's a hurricane, a blizzard. We couldn't see. Where were we? It was crazy. In the giant 2-mile-wide river, we hit a pilot. There's like one pilot across 2 miles, right? So, me being the good, we just kind of went with it. He was a little upset with me. We kind of rolled with it, right? About 10 years later, a certain person in our audience, I'm not sure where he is, decided to tell Dad that he was actually driving the boat. Just to make that chart. That's right. Like everything else, Dad just rolled with it. So, life well lived. So we're going to have some of the grandkids, the older, mature grandkids, and forget that story I just told you. So we have Sean and Aaron, who are with him and Steve Jameson, and then of course Cole with for Howard Police. Sean, go first.
As the oldest grandchild, I was lucky to have spent the most time with my granddad before he got Alzheimer's. I cherish the memories I have of him. For example, I remember watching all the Star Wars movies with him, traveling a lot, to several places like the Caribbean and Rhode Island even. And yeah, that actually meant a lot to me. It's probably the reason I love to travel so much. I also remember him telling me a few life lessons. For example, when I was like 2 years old and, no, not 2 years old, I wouldn't remember that. I would say I was around 4-ish and I ran to the middle of the street and he told me why that was not a good idea. And like I said, I cherish his memories and, well, I'm gonna miss him. So, here you go.
G-Dad, I really wish I got to know more about you and who you were. I really only saw your amazing adventures through pictures or stories. I wish I could have been there on those adventures with you. I think I remember a couple years ago, one time I said something and G-Dad said something back that was super funny. But sadly, I can't remember the joke. But I know he was really funny before he got sick. If only there was a time machines so I could go back in time and see those adventures and see what he was like. It would have been great if all of us could go on a big trip all together as a family. So even if I can't time travel, I will treasure the memories I have of him as long as I live.
I'm Erin, and I wanted to say a couple things about my grandfather. Although I didn't get to spend as much time with him as I wish I could have, I have a few memories that I will forever cherish, and I would like to share them with you. It starts with my very first memories, when I was just a chubby little kid. We were at the Kennedy Space Center, and I thought it'd be a good idea to slip under the rail and start to waddle into the street. G-Dad jumped over the guardrail and grabbed me and stopped me from running into the bus lane. And although that was memorable, I have some better things that I got to do with G-Dad. I was so lucky to have amazing grandparents who took us on 4 exciting cruises. G-Dad and Amanda took us to many incredible countries and helped me start my love for travel. Although I wish to experience more with my G-Dad, I'm so happy I got to remember what I shared with you. So even though he's not standing right here next to me, he's always there in my memories and in my heart. I'm so crying.
Hi, I'm Steve Jameson. I'm married to Kim. I know most of you out here, but just in case there's somebody out there who doesn't recognize me, that's who I am. I was the first to join the Johnson clan, and Dave and Claire, they welcomed me in with open arms. They really took me in as family. But Dave did something a little more unusual. He welcomed me in as a friend. Not everybody would look at a punk 25-year-old who's marrying their oldest daughter and bring him in and treat him like a colleague. But Dave did that for me. He invited me to play poker with his friends. We did some golf outings. We were not very good, except for maybe David. But there was one time when we both happened to be in Destin on business at the same time. He called me up. He's like, "Hey, Steve, let's go out. Let's go grab some dinner." So, of course, we found a place right on the beach, and we went up on the deck and just hung out talking for a couple of hours. He really treated me as an adult and, like I said, as a friend, not just as a son-in-law. And that's kind of indicative of how unique Dave was. He enjoyed life to the fullest. He never missed an opportunity to see the joy and the fun in his adventures. As a result of this, some of my favorite memories are those with Dave. Whether, like David was saying, sailing out on the Banana and Indian River, which from a boy from Indiana, that was a very exotic adventure. We had a ski trip up in Idaho where it was a day like this, except a little bit colder, and it was spectacular. It was one of the best days skiing ever. I got to fly in the Goodyear blimp, and I fly for a living, and that is the coolest flight I've ever been. There was this one time when we were touring the Glenfarclas distillery in Scotland, and Claire and Kim and Lisa got held up a little bit, so we got to do the tour like 4 times with the tasting. It was good. But I have to say, I think that my favorite adventure with Dave was we were in this Irish pub outside of Bunratty Castle, and he's singing Danny Boy. And here's this American singing Danny Boy in an Irish pub, and he was good. There was a little bit of mead involved prior to that, so,
A little bit.
just a wee bit. But in many ways, Dave's still with us. If you look around at the Johnson family, you see the nose. It's still there. You can see it. Corey, we've heard his words and his advice. Every time I see a pelican out here, I think about how his beak can hold more than his belly can. I don't know if you guys where I work, there's a saying, and when somebody takes a new job, we always talk about how your goal is to leave the place better than you found it. And for me, that's what Dave did with his life. He left it better.
He definitely did that. Dave was a great man. We all know that. But the funny thing is, when I think of Dave, I actually think of all you guys. it's funny, I just had the association. And because, you know, in the beginning, before I was introduced to the Johnson realm, which I call it, and y'all kind of know what that means. Is I remember coming down, and a lot of times, you know, when Lisa and I were first dating, every time we came down, it was like, usually for Thanksgiving, Christmas, there was always a party. And we'd go down, and she'd be like, prepping me in the car. All right, this game, this game. I felt like I was preparing for battle. and I get to the parties, and then I just remember just being in these parties. I'm like, man, they got it going on. And Claire did such a phenomenal job taking pictures and stuff, and she had all those collages around the house. And I just remember just looking at, you know, talking to all you guys, hearing all the stories, seeing all the photographs. You guys are nuts. Really? I thought I had some crazy friends. And it's just, and I'm like, man, that's kind of what I want to be when I grow up. I want to, I'm thinking I'm going to go and have kids, and my life is going to get boring. And then like, oh, wait, no, this is how you do it. This is how you do it. And that's, to me, what Dave did, he scripted his life. He scripted it. He's like, you know what? Where do I want to go and raise my family?